All right, once again, welcome to Adobe Creative Cloud. This is our live channel, or this is our Facebook page where we do live broadcasts. And of course, Adobe Live is where everything Adobe is officially streamed. But Adobe Live is our normal 3-day streams that are 8 hours a day with all kinds of creative processes going on. We typically do these shorter streams on Facebook, sometimes on YouTube on Mondays and Fridays, where we're just sharing tips, techniques, and shorter topics. So with that said, welcome everyone. Welcome Renee. Who did I see there? Brock. Who else is Micah, Ginger? Hello, hello, hello. So welcome everyone, Marco, and everyone that I don't get a chance to call out by name. Georgia Huggins, I see you in there as well. And I see people from Atlanta. Welcome. All right, so what do you need to photograph the solar eclipse? A camera. Haha, very funny. Besides that, what do you really need? Before we get into the camera thing, I must warn you. Looking at the solar eclipse, serious moment here, can cause permanent damage to your eyes, if not complete blindness. So the first thing you will need, even if you're not going to photograph it, even if you're just going to be outside and want to look up and enjoy it, you need the right eyewear. No, your sunglasses aren't enough. No, your transition lenses are not enough. You need the proper solar eclipse viewing glasses that are designed and rated a specific ISO rating so that you will not get eye damage. I cannot stress that enough, that if you go out and you look at this thing with the naked eye, there are no pain receptors. So you'll have damage and not even realize it right away, till maybe later on that day or the next day, where you can suffer anything from temporary blindness to permanent blindness. Do not look at the solar eclipse with the naked eye. With that said, what do you need? I would show them, but mine haven't arrived yet. Mine are going to be here Thursday, and I didn't want to hold this back until Thursday. But you're going to need some solar eclipse viewing glasses. Everyone's selling them. You can buy them on Amazon. This is B&H. You can buy them just about everywhere where you would buy photographic equipment or telescopes or anything like that. I don't care what brand you buy. I don't care where you buy it from. The main thing I care about is that you just make sure that the ISO rating is this number. If it doesn't say that, if it doesn't specifically call it out, I would not buy those glasses. In other words, if they're not, like, that's line number 1 of the description of these glasses. If it's not in the description, then chances are they're not properly rated, and therefore they may not provide the sufficient protection for your eyes. So as you can see, blocks 99.99999, basically just about 100% of intense visible light, 100% protection from UV and IR radiation, scratch resistant, great, that's all cool. They don't have to be special, meaning, you know, high quality plastic or anything like that. They just have to be rated this rating. Where does this rating come from? How do we know that number? It comes directly from NASA. NASA talks about it on their page, and they give that exact rating. If the glasses don't have that rating, then don't use them. My glasses don't have them. My sunglasses don't have them. I don't own a pair of glasses that have them yet. I ordered these. They'll be here Thursday. I will not look at the solar eclipse without wearing these. All right, now that we got the safety warning out of the way, and again, can't stress this enough, and they're pretty cheap. I mean, this is 15 bucks for 5 pairs. So basically, you can buy it once for your whole family. But don't let your children look at it. Don't let anyone look at it without the proper glasses. So buy a pack, hand them out to the people around you that may not have the right eye protection, because the last thing we want, or we don't want, is for someone to have permanent damage because they tried to enjoy the solar eclipse. Okay, got that out of the way. Next thing, is that whatever you're going to look at this with besides your eyes, whether it be your camera, your smartphone, your telescope, it also can be damaged by the sun's rays. So you need a filter for it as well. And same kind of thing. Your regular filters that you probably already have, your polarizers, your neutral density filters, probably aren't strong enough. You're going to need the same kind of protection that you're giving your eyes for your camera gear. Why does my camera need protection? Because all of your cameras, smartphones, and devices have a sensor in it. That sensor was not designed to be radiated by the sun, especially for several minutes at a time. So if you're going to photograph the sun, which you are technically doing, and you're going to do it for several minutes, then you're going to want protection for your gear as well. So you can, here, let me switch back to me for a minute. You can get these filters. I'm holding one of my lenses here with one of the filters on it. You can get one of these solar filters from wherever you buy your lenses from, wherever you're, like, for example, I use B&H, that's where I get my gear from, but whether it's B&H, Adorama, Amazon, wherever you shop, look for ones that are specifically designed for shooting the sun. Now, I like this particular design because it has the little thumb screws that allow me to quickly and easily put it on and take it off. Why is that important? Because you want it on and secure when you're shooting the partial eclipse. So basically, if you were to go outside right now, well, depending on where you are, time of day, but if you were to go outside right now and to shoot the sun, you'd obviously want it on because the sun is bright right now, and you're going to want your lens protected, or your sensor protected, I should say. You're going to want that protection through the various phases until you reach total eclipse. Once you reach total eclipse, where the sun is completely blocked by the moon, then that's when this actually needs to come off, and then you can shoot with your regular lens until while the solar eclipse is in totality state. Once it starts, the moon continues to pass, or the sun continues to pass, whichever way that works, once they are passing each other and you start to see the sun again, this goes back on to continue capturing the phases of the eclipse. So, on initially, shoot. We'll talk about settings and all that in a minute. Totality, the moon's completely blocking the sun. You can take this off. You can take the glasses off. You can look at it. It's okay. The split second, even if you think you're about to see some sun rays, the glasses go back on first. This goes back on, and then you keep shooting. So, eye protection, lens protection, sensor protection, while the sun is bright, while you're seeing those phases of the eclipse. When it's in its totality state, meaning the moon is completely 100% blocking, you have a total eclipse, basically it's dark outside, then you can enjoy it, take the glasses off, take this off, shoot for the couple of minutes, because it's really just a couple of minutes of this time that it will happen. And then once it starts to fade away or move out, and you see the light starting to come back, that's when this goes back on. Okay, and that's when the glasses go back on first. All right, so now that we got that taken care of, what do you really need in terms of the eclipse? First of all, are you even in an area where you'll be able to see this? So before we jump to the camera and talk about settings and mobile and Creative Cloud and all that, let's talk about, first of all, where you should be at the time of this and when is this happening and what's it all about. So let's switch back to the computer for a second. The solar eclipse is this coming Monday, August 21st, 2017. It is happening for the first time in a long time over the United States. It's happened in other places, but we're getting the treat here in the US to actually be able to see it for first time in many, many years. All right, where to see it? Now, there are a couple of websites dedicated to showing you all about it. So space.com has their site, and I'll post these links on the Facebook post for this video. But basically it's space.com. If you want to screenshot this link right now, this is the link that will take you right to the page where I am, because it's too hard to read it out. 35495-where to see 2017 total solar eclipse.html. But anyway, that's the link at space.com. And what that will do is it will very nicely walk you through, first of all, what the solar eclipse is, what the path of the shadow is, what time it's going to start, where it's going to start, and then it will take you state by state through the eclipse to show you where it's happening. So that was Oregon. It's telling me where in Oregon, if I'm going to watch it, what time, where I'd want to be. About 1.1 million people live in the path of totality. The path of totality means that that's the path where you will get the complete darkness. Now, anywhere in the United States, you'll be able to see it. Pretty much, I guess, anywhere in the world. Well, maybe not. Anywhere in the United States, let's stick to that. You'll be able to see it. You just won't see it in its totality. So, for example, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Where I am in Georgia is not in the totality. So I'll be able to see, the partial eclipse. I believe about 97% of the eclipse. But if I were to drive a couple of hours, which I'm still planning to do, then I would see it in its totality a couple hours northeast of me. And then I'll be able to see the dark path and, sun or daytime change to nighttime. But even if I don't drive there, I'll still be able to see it. So that's Idaho or Oregon, Idaho, same thing, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas. So this site walks you through every state where it's gonna pass and show you where, and give you some good information about where you want to be, even suggesting some locations. Kentucky, Tennessee, and so for example, when I got down to Georgia, I was like, oh, it's going to be right up there at the tip of Georgia. If I were to drive up there, I'd be able to see it. And it's telling me where. And it's more importantly telling me the time. So for me, where I'm located, it's going to be 2:36 p.m. my time. Depending on where you are, the time, of course, will be different because it's traveling for about 4 hours throughout the day. So depending on where you are, that's, you'll of course go to the time you'll pay attention to the time based on the location. So it's total eclipse, it will last about 2 minutes and 34 seconds here, and it will begin about 2:35, or actually partial eclipse. Okay, wait a minute. Those who stay in Atlanta will see a 97% partial eclipse around 2:36. The total eclipse will start at, I believe, 2:35 and last for 2 minutes and 34 seconds. So it's very precise. They know exactly how long it's going to last and where it's going to be. All right, cool. Thanks for Micah for posting a link there as well. Now there's another link. I like this link even better. It's by Gannett. This particular link lets you put in your zip code, your address, whatever, and it shows you where you are in relationship to the shadow. So for example, if I were to put in an Atlanta zip code, it says, oops, you're not going to be there. Like, you're near the airport, you're not going to be there. There's no grayness here. Now if I zoom out, and then pan over, oh, see, there it is. I drive up 85 and boom, I hit it. So, it's about a 70-mile path wide. So, depending on where you are, if you can get to it, I highly recommend you get to it. Now, keep in mind, getting to it is not really the problem. Room is the problem. Now, granted, it's not taking place in one hotel or one park or one, open field. It is everywhere across this path for 70 miles. So there are places that will be completely a madhouse, like state parks that are doing festivals that are completely sold out, so forth and so on. But in this 70-mile path up 85, there's got to be exits and pockets of smaller places where there won't be a million people standing. The traffic on 85 is probably going to be horrendous before and after. So you want to get to where you're going early, if not the day before or days before. There are people literally flying from all over the world to be able to see this, and all over the country to be able to get to this path of totality. I may just stay home and do the 97% and call it a day, or I may brave it in the morning and try and get there early in the morning and scout out a spot and try and do it. I don't know yet, but one way or the other, I will definitely be photographing it. Whether it's the 97% or the 100%. I think the 100% would be the coolest thing to be able to see, you know, in your lifetime, if you can get to it. If you can't, understood. All right. Let's see. Marco says they're going to be, I can't see the number, but I bet it's a big number. Hold on. Let's see if I can make this window wider. There we go. 200,000 people in Illinois. What is that? Carbondale, Illinois. 25,000 people town. So there you go. They're just, that one town is expecting to see 200,000 people, and they only have 25,000 residents. So it's gonna be crazy. And the craziness will probably start this weekend because people will start their trips to get there, because no one wants to wait till the last minute like me. But anyway, if you haven't already booked reservations, chances are anywhere that you would want to stay or spend the night in that area is probably already sold out, and probably sold out for a lot of money. But if you can get there, great. If it's a drive away, that makes it much easier because you can drive in early and drive out as soon as it's over, because it'll only be literally a few minutes. So if you're not in the path of totality, you would need to have super, oh, I missed that. You would need to have super extra UV filter, your lens, the whole time. No, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in, so let's make that clear. Whether you're in this path of totality or you're outside of it, you need the stuff I talked about no matter where you are. If you're looking up at it, you need the glasses. If you're looking up at it, or the camera or your telescope, you need the filter. Just having a UV filter won't cut it. I don't care if you're not in this gray path. If you're 100 miles outside of that path, you still need it. All this path is this path will be where it will be completely dark. Everywhere else will still get a partial eclipse, and therefore will still, as a matter of fact, you will never be able to take your glasses off if you're not in this path. Because the people in this path that get the 100% totality, those are the ones that for those few, or maybe a minute or two, get to take the protection off and look up at it, because the moon will completely block the sun in this gray path. Everywhere else won't get that. So you'll need the protection the entire time. So yes, you'll need the sun or the eyewear the entire time if you're not in this path, and you'll need your cameras protected the entire time if you're not in this path. So it doesn't matter. All right, yep, place is booked 2 years in advance. Yeah, so again, I can't stress the protection. Doesn't matter if you're in this path or not. If you're gonna look at it, you need the protection for everything you're gonna look at it with. Let's put it that way. All right, so let's back to the gear, and we'll get to some settings. All right, so one of the things that's kind of difficult is I can't tell you, I'm not gonna tell you what to go out and buy, because too many people watching with too many various levels of experience and budget and so forth and so on. So I'll tell you how to make the best of it with what you have, or what you can maybe rent if you can get it in time. First and foremost, we'll talk about two types of shooters: DSLR shooters, and then we'll talk about the mobile and maybe point and shoot or small camera shooters. So let me move this over a bit so you can see it. So I have my tripod here. I'll move over a little as well. I have my tripod here with one of those filters on it, and with one of my bodies on it. Now this is one of the bodies I'll be using, or this body will be in use that day to shoot it. And on this is my 70 to 200 millimeter lens. So let's talk about the lens first. You want probably the longest lens you can get your hands on. If you had access to a 2000 millimeter lens, you would use it. But of course, most of you, many of us, will never have access to a lens that long or that big. So if it's a choice between your 200 millimeter lens or your wide angle, use the 200 millimeter. If it's a choice between your 300 and your 200, use the 300, so forth and so on. So you're going to use the longest telephoto lens you have. Why? Because the closer you can zoom into it, the bigger it will be in the frame. If you use a wide angle or a non-telephoto lens, then you're going to have this little dot in this giant frame. And we're going to talk about that too. That can still work depending on your device, but keep in mind, if you got a choice, use the longer lens. So I've got that one. And the longest lens I own, which is actually my travel lens. This is a 28 to 300 millimeter. So this one's actually longer in terms of focal length than that one. So 28 to 300 will be basically my primary lens because it's the longest one I have. Now, keep in mind that even if you don't have a super long lens, you can adapt the lens you have with a teleconverter. So for example, if I just, well, I'll have to do it this way. This particular lens, or this particular body right now, has a teleconverter attached to it. That's this little, looks like a little short lens on the front of it. This is, unfortunately, all I have is a 1.4 teleconverter. So that means whatever lens I attach this to, and I'll tell you, you're probably thinking, oh, why wouldn't you attach that to the 300 millimeter? And there's a reason. It's not compatible. Anyway, so I have to use it with the 7200. So that will take my 200 millimeter and make it 1.4 times 200 millimeter, whatever that math works out to be. So probably just under 300 millimeter. If you had a 2x converter or better, great, then that will double the focal length of your existing lens. Next, besides the longest lens you have and the filter for it, the next thing you're going to want is, you know, again, this probably goes without saying, but your better body. In other words, if you've got more than one DSLR body, you're going to use the newer one, the one with the highest megapixel. And this is probably the first time I'm ever going to say highest megapixel because I usually don't care, but this is where higher megapixels count. Because since you don't have the super long lens, having a higher megapixel body will mean that at least you'll have enough data to be able to crop into it to get a bigger picture. So for example, this is a 36 megapixel body, or actually not this one, but I will be shooting with a 36 megapixel body. And therefore, that's better than this 24 megapixel body because even with the same lens, I'll have more data to be able to crop into it later with Lightroom and Photoshop after the fact. All right, next up, you will need one of these. This is a camera release or a trigger or remote, whatever you want to call it. But this is basically, this one's wired. They are wireless ones. There are all kinds of different triggers depending on which kind of camera you have, because the longer this lens is and the longer you get it to set up, and even though you're on a tripod, if you reach over and press the button, you're shaking the camera. So therefore, you don't want any camera shake, because while it may not be a big deal while you're shooting something close or a portrait or something of someone, it's a big deal when you're trying to shoot the sun or the moon or something that's very far away, because the least little shake will mean you had a completely out of focus photo. So you definitely don't want to have to touch the camera when you're actually photographing. So that's why this wired remote, I will press the button on this to fire the camera as opposed to pressing the button on the actual camera. And of course, like I said, there are many ways to do that. There are wireless triggers, wired triggers, phone apps. If your camera supports wireless, chances are the manufacturer makes an app. You can just press the button with the phone instead. That way you don't have to touch the camera. That pretty much covers the hardware. Filter, lens, body, wired or wireless remote. Let me move this just over slightly just for a moment, and let's talk about settings now. When you're going to photograph, and by the way, I highly recommend we're going to talk about this at the end, but just so I don't forget, don't wait till Monday. Practice now. Practice every day until Monday. Get used to your camera. Get used to where things are. Because if you're going to be in that totality range, it's going to be dark. So you want to, chances are you're going to be in a hurry. You won't be able to see things. You want to know where things are before you actually get out there. So practice shooting the sun once you get your filters, once you get your gear now. That way, you'll have an idea of what it takes to get ready and to do it. Now, as far as settings are concerned, I've not done this, so I basically have just done the research to, if you guys got it, please share the images to us. Oh, we will definitely be sharing the images. I'm sure you will see. You'll get tired of seeing solar eclipse images after Monday. But anyway, let's talk about settings. So first and foremost, you put this nice filter on the end of your lens. The last thing you want to do is look at the, try and look through the viewfinder. Look through the actual lens. Because now you're magnifying the sun right into your eyes. So basically, you might as well put some tape over the viewfinder. Don't look at it while you're trying to shoot the sun. Use your camera's live view, LCD screen, whatever it's called in your camera, to bring up the image there, because then you can't get any eye damage by looking at that screen as opposed to looking through the lens. If you got a mirrorless camera, you don't have to worry about it because you're not looking through the lens anyway. But whatever it is, look at the LCD screen. On my camera, it's called live view. I would go to live view. I would see what it's seeing, but I would see it on the LCD screen. If you don't, look at it on your phone app. Look at it anywhere else you can instead of actually looking through the viewfinder through the lens. Next. My camera is not. Oh no, camera's not working, won't read the cards. I know my D810's in the shop right now for an unrelated issue, hoping now that I'll get it back this week. Otherwise, I may not be shooting the eclipse, at least not the way I want to. Okay, so we're talking about settings. We're going to talk about, so first and foremost, make sure you're not looking through the lens, you're using live view. Second tip, what about the ISO, f-stop, manual, aperture priority, all of that? So let's get through all of that right now. You want your lowest ISO that your camera does. So I'll probably have mine set on ISO 100. You're going to want your, I could write these down and put up slides, but this was kind of an impromptu thing that I came up with this morning, so I didn't have time to put together a visual presentation. So if you miss anything, if you're not writing it down now, you can always go back and rewatch this. So ISO 100, you're going to want to either, if you're comfortable, again, if you practiced along the way until Monday, you can shoot manual or at least aperture priority. So those are the two modes you want. You don't want automatic, you don't want program mode, you don't want shutter priority. You either want manual or aperture priority. Aperture priority, if you're not comfortable, is probably the easiest thing to do. As far as your f-stop, you're going to want anywhere between f5.6 and f11. You don't need a shallow depth of field. There's nothing behind it. So it's not like you're trying to put the background out of focus. So I would probably go towards f11, but I would say no lower than f5.6. And again, you can feel free to dispute that if you feel more comfortable shooting at a different f-stop. By all means, go for it. I'm just giving some general numbers here. So f5.6 to f11, ISO 100, aperture priority. You probably want to shoot in RAW if your camera supports RAW. That way you'll have more data to work with. And the biggest tip I can give you, on top of all of that, is to shoot bracketed. What does that mean? Your camera, if you're shooting with a DSLR, probably has a mode called bracketing. That means that it will take 3, 5, 7, how many ever images it can take maximum, and you want it in a maximum setting, with, I recommend, 2 stops in between. That way, when you press the button, it's taking one low exposure, or overexposed, properly exposed, and everything in between all at once, or with a second in between. That way, you'll have a range of images to put together in Lightroom after the fact, or Photoshop after the fact. So, shoot bracketed often throughout the entire process. Even if you're in totality, when you take the filter off, you're still going to shoot bracketed. That way you can continue to get those varying ranges of exposure. Also, when it's completely in totality, those exposures might be longer. So therefore, that's why you want the tripod and the shutter release, because the shutter is going to be open longer. Last but not least, you're going to want a, if your camera supports it, just again to reduce any vibration, you're going to want the mirror up mode. So basically it doesn't have to adjust the mirror every time you press the shutter. So again, just to quickly recap, ISO 100, aperture priority or manual if you're comfortable with manual. F5.6 to F11, probably more towards F11. Bracketed, 2 stops in between, as many brackets as your camera will do. So this is a D600. This one only does three exposures in bracketing. I think my D810 does 5, if I'm not mistaken. But even if it doesn't, you can, I was going to say you can always do it manually, but people that know manual know they can do that. All right, shoot in RAW and mirror up. So that's your settings. Now, that was just to cover the people that have a professional camera or a prosumer camera and above. What about these? What about these things? We all walk around with them. Can I shoot the solar eclipse with this? Yes and no. Yes, you can, but the same rules apply. Will you get the same thing as this? No, because this has got the longer lens. But you can do it. It can be done. Now, this, by contrast, 12 megapixels. Not a super telephoto lens, unless you buy some type of lens to go on it, but then that creates another problem, which I'm about to explain. Same issue, though, in terms of stabilization and, more importantly, solar filtering. So you can damage your iPhone sensor by just pointing it at the sun and shooting all day. You can damage the sensor inside your iPhone to where you, or your whatever phone you're using, to whether or not, to the point where you need a repair. So you want to protect this the same way you're protecting this. How do you protect such a small lens? Believe it or not, they make solar filters for a smartphone or point and shoot or tablet cameras. So you don't need to have, you don't have to have, I shouldn't say, you don't have to have a giant camera to do it, but whatever camera you're going to use, the same rule applies in protecting the sensor. This is a solar filter designed for this. This is the Iographer. Iographer is a brand of camera stabilizer. So basically this was designed to be mainly shot or using or shooting for films or video, where you're going to, you know, hold it steady this way and kind of pan your way around. It does have a tripod mount, a quarter mount on the bottom, which is great, so that this can sit on a tripod. And of course, it's got the bracket on the other side to hold your phone. This filter clips right there over your phone. So basically, you're protecting your camera sensor, and you can enjoy the viewfinder on your phone because you're not looking through the lens and you're not looking directly up at the sun. So you could enjoy that without the glasses, as long as you don't tend to do this. If you tend to look up at it like you're going to be doing that, then you want the glasses on. Keep the glasses on, just be on the safe side. All right, so the phone goes in here. This holds it. I've got a different case on here. Let's see if I can get this in here. Oh, maybe. All right, I got it in there. Phone's in there now. And this will go over it, sort of like so. Yeah, that works pretty nicely. All right, so now if I go to my camera app, I see nothing. This is the way it's supposed to be. All right, so here, let me show you. Let's bring the phone up, and let's go to the computer so you can see it. So I'm on my iPhone now with the iographer and the filter on it. And I would normally be shooting this. This is where the Creative Cloud part comes in. I would normally be shooting this with one of my Adobe apps. Lightroom and the Lightroom camera. Why the Lightroom camera as opposed to the camera and it doesn't work it doesn't project wide. But why the Lightroom camera? Because the Lightroom camera allows me to shoot, let me just automatic for a second, in RAW. That's one reason. The other reason is the iPhone or the Lightroom camera has a professional mode where I can set the ISO, shutter speed, white balance, so forth and so on. And of course, I still have the telephoto mode on the iPhone 7, so at least I can use the second camera to get out a little further, but this is going to give me the best possible result from this device. And the reason, again, you're not seeing, how come I'm not seeing anything through this? Because this filter is designed to shoot the sun, and therefore no other light is bright enough for me to even see through it. So I wouldn't see anything unless I pointed this at the sun. And then I would be able to watch the sun with the glasses on in this. So you can do it. You can do it with a smartphone with the proper equipment. And again, you're going to mount this on a tripod before you do it, because you're going to want the same type of steadiness. Now, what would you use for a wireless trigger? Believe it or not, if you're using an iPhone, your earbuds, the volume up on your earbuds will trigger the camera. That's one. The camera app, at least the built-in one and the Adobe one, both have timers. So even if you forgot your earbuds, you can still set a timer, walk away, like don't touch it, press the timer, and let it take the shot without any vibration. There are wireless Bluetooth timers. Your Apple Watch, unfortunately there's no watch app for the Lightroom app, but for the regular app or regular camera, you could use your Apple Watch to do it. So all kinds of ways to trigger without having to touch it. All right, and of course, when you shoot into Lightroom shooting RAW, those images are synced back to your Lightroom on the desktop as well. So you got a couple ways to do it. Oh, cool. Michael, I'm glad you're getting something out of this. Yep, I've got a solar filter on it too. So this is the solar filter, which now everything just lit up. I can now see the camera. I can see the camera now. But as soon as I put this solar filter on it, boom, it goes completely dark, because this is designed for pointing at the sun so I don't screw up the sensor or hardware of my phone. And I did not see an option to buy just the filter without the iographer. The iographer is great to have, don't get me wrong, it's a great device. Great for video, great for mounting on a tripod. But I just found it odd that at least I didn't find any filters by themselves for the solar filters, I should say, for the iPhone. And that's really about it. Now, the last two things I'll say is for the bracket, did you say two overall and under? No, I said for the bracketing, as many stops as your camera will do. So this one only does 3. If you have a camera that does 5 or 7 or whatever, do them with 2 stops in between. So 3, 5, 7, how many ever exposures you can get in bracketing based on what your camera does, set it for the maximum with 2 stops in between. That will give you more range of shots to put together after the fact. Yeah, and that's another thing too. You can see, I'm not a do-it-yourselfer, but Mike is bringing up a great point. They sell solar filter material that you can cut out and put over anything. So as long as you buy the right ISO compliant filter, You could theoretically make your own glasses. You can make your own filters for the devices that you're going to cover. You can make your own filter for your camera, make your own filter for your smartphone. I'm just not a do-it-yourselfer, so I didn't even think to even bring up filter sheets, but yes, you can. Just make sure that when you're buying that filter material, when you're looking at your glasses, when you're looking at the filters, if you buy regular filters for your camera, make sure that there are no holes. So check it, make sure it's not any light leaks, make sure there are no holes in it, because that's all it will take to ruin your eyes or your camera gear. So 2 things, and then we'll call it a day. 3 things. Number 1, don't forget your eye protection. If you forget your eye protection, it's over, unless you can do it without looking up. So don't forget your eye protection. I'm serious, folks. There are people that have been blinded by looking up at a solar eclipse. So again, for those of you who just got here, let me just bring that page up again and I'll move on to the other 2 things. Where's the mouse for this one? There it is. So here it is. Get a pair of solar eclipse glasses that are rated ISO 12312-2. Those are the ones you need. If they don't say that rating, skip them. Get the ones that say that rating. They're cheap. You know, they don't have to be expensive. You can get some really nice ones that are, you know, more stylish, but these are paper and plastic. They work. And you're pretty much only going to use them once or twice probably in your life. So this is a 5-pack for $15 at Amazon, or I'm sorry, at B&H. And Amazon had, I thought about Amazon because they had a recall. They were actually selling some that they realized weren't rated. And therefore they don't want to get sued for someone's eyes getting damaged, and they recall them. So basically, make sure you get the right ones. So number 1, eye protection, and of course, equipment protection. Number 2, if you're in the area of totality where it's completely dark, don't enjoy it through your camera. Take a moment and actually look at it. With the glasses, of course, if you're a partial eclipse. Without the glasses, if you're in total eclipse. Enjoy this, probably for many of us, once in a lifetime opportunity. Don't spend it fiddling with your camera, and then next thing you know, it's passed over. Yeah, you might have got some pictures of it, but you didn't really see it. And lastly, practice before Monday. You won't have a solar eclipse until Monday, but you have the sun pretty much every day till then. Once you get your gear, once you get your glasses, go out and shoot the sun every day with your gear to get familiar with your camera, your setup, your tripod. You know where all the buttons are. You know how to get in and out of bracketing. You know how to quickly put the filter on and quickly take the filter off if you're going to be in totality. And just practice everything and look at your shots and play around with it until you get what you want. Definitely, most places are sold out, but you got to remember, it's not happening. It's happening in the sky. It's not happening necessarily at a particular park, hotel, parking lot, or whatever. So if you can just get in that 70-mile range and find a place to pull over or find a place to watch it, whether it's a parking lot, a school, playground, whatever it is, you know, any open field, anything that's not blocked by trees, you only need 15 minutes to do it. I would say give yourself more time if you need time to set up, of course, but you don't, you know, yeah, there are a lot of places that are sold out, but that doesn't mean there are a lot of places where you just can't stand and enjoy it. So I would say do that for sure. Total eclipse over most of the U.S. in 2024. So if you don't, you know, you'll get to use them then. And thanks for that info as well. All right, so thanks everybody. Hope this helped you, and practice. Maybe Thursday when my glasses get here, I'll go out and shoot some things and post my pictures of the sun on my social media so you can see how my practice shots are going. And I'll talk about settings there as well. But get your glasses. Don't even think about anything else until you have your glasses. Yeah, it's great if you're going to shoot it, but even if you're just going to watch it, make sure you have the glasses. Did I say, by the way, you need glasses? You need the solar eclipse glasses, not just sunglasses. You need the ones that are ISO rated 12312-2, or you could go blind. Did I make that clear? All right, thanks everybody, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers.